page 224, or towards the end of the second last paragraph of Ois Vav. So again, the overall subject here is, the general kasha is, why dafka tefillah b'tzibur? Of the three things that Hashem says, Podoh dani, liu levani yibenu umos, so it's Torah, avodah, and gemilas chasadim, as hinted to in the pasuk, Podoh בשלום nafshi, as Rashi explains, but why dafka tefillah b'tzibur? That's the shayla of the maamer. So to understand that, he's introducing the whole meaning of the merkava. And what emerges is that there's two levels of merkava, meaning there's two levels of avodah that lifts the adam to loy adam. That means there's two levels of bittul. The loy adam is the bittul level that is expressed in the adam, which is mitzias, because the word adam is b'gematria ma, and ma means both things. Ma means both mitzias and not mitzias. So there's two avodas, two levels of avodah. One, as he's explaining now, or has explained, is the level of the merkava, stam, and then there's the merkava of the ovis. That's the higher avodah, and that's what's demanded. What's the level of the merkava stam? So he basically is explaining what it is. It's taka integration, it's taka bittul. There's a softening of the midas. This is the avodah of atzilus, basically. This is the merkava that lifts the adam to atzilus. The adam shalakisen il mabriya is lifted to atzilus. So atzilus is a beautiful world of integration because it's a world of reason and seichel, dominated by chachma, which is true bittul. And as the Rabbi said, that true seichel seeks to understand that which is higher than me, not that which is lower than me, and how to attain it, but how to attain that which is higher than me. So it pales a bittul, it softens the midas, therefore, and the midas assume a maturity, especially in this meich and the gadlus, and therefore that even when overall the midah is the one is expressing is a chesed midah, one will envelop it in gvura in order to achieve the objective. It's a reasoned, mature approach. So you love your child, but sometimes it's time for discipline. And even that discipline is an act of love, but to be effective love, you need gevura. You hate your enemy, and it has to be destroyed, but sometimes the way to go about that is through chesed. So this is a reasonable approach, it's a mature approach, it's the perfect approach, as it were. It's the state of atzilus. Atzilus is dominated by chachma, and hence chachma, which is bittul. Hence, all of the sviras, all of the midas of atzilus are integrated, softened, the hard edge is removed, and there's integration because there's the influence of seichel, which meich shalat ala lev, which makes it the heart says that I know how you feel, and this is good. You should love your child, but to love your child effectively, don't spoil him. Says the seichel. You really love him, you have to use gevura sometimes, there's musa. So that's a reasonable approach.
Isn't it at the end of the day, kind of Tiferes follows this, and Tiferes kind of the balance of the chesed and gvura? Talking about the leaving out the...
No, Tiferes is not the midah. Tiferes is compassion. It's a different midah. Tiferes is rachmanis, compassion and empathy. It's a deeper midah, but it's a very different midah. Chesed is love. You don't have rachmanis on your children. I mean, hopefully. They're not in the matzav, they need to be pitied. The poor person has to be pitied. Your child is chesed. In order to be effective, so you can't spare the rod. Chesech shiftoi, if one spares the rod, so one is the opposite of love. Bechlal, compassion and tiferes is on someone that's very far from your world. That's why it's mavriach min hakotze lakotze. It connects extremes. Chesed is close to your world, and so is gevura. It's close to you, fearful, in the simple expression of gevura. But that's not the tachlis avodah. Everything we described till now is a wonderful avodah, meichen the godless, and maturity. Really, the word for it is maturity. Is a life directed by lofty objectives. Lofty objectives as defined truly by Chochmah. It's not tachlis ha'ilui. So how did it begin this in the second paragraph? Avaisvav. Did we start that? We didn't. That's where we're up to. Okay. Did we start it or not? I don't know. We did. Pardon? No, the second paragraph to 224. The second paragraph, I think we're up to there. Did we finish the previous paragraph? Yeah, we did. We just now summarized it. You have the Maimer. There's a copy up there. Oh, it's before you. That's yours. That's yours. Maybe I'll to learn better. Just made the deal. There's more books. It's a wonderful book. Pardon? What page are we? In the middle of? Okay, we'll start again. In the middle of it, we'll start again. I know we started in the Kudik. That's because that's what was the cliffhanger. So we'll start again. Yeah, we talked about the 84, and that was the idea, the story that you told, the stories that you told, the Fabrengen. Okay, so you'll do it Shabbos. Okay, we'll look forward to that.
Story about the son and the father?
No. Yeah, he just basically said help out another. Two lines. Yeah, that was Yud Bei Shvat Tavshin Yudalet, 1954. Okay, middle of paragraph, issue 24. But the tachlis is not what we just described above, although that is virtuous and extremely virtuous. But it's not the tachlis. It's not merely that because of the weakening, the softening of the midas as a result of seichel, that there should be an integration within the person and with others, as we will see, and there should be an integration, room for the other. That's not the tachlis. The tachlis is shegam kashem midas chesed gvura heim betoikev. Even as chesed and gevura are in their full intensity, there is in iskalulos an integration, an incorporation, and a peace in a way that one receives from the other. Till now we're describing not so much receiving but using. Now it's chesed. I love my child. In order to effectively love my child, I have to employ gevura. So I'm employing gevura, but not being makabel from gevura. We'll soon see. Very different. It's a very different thing. But we're talking about essentially that chesed, even without trying to achieve an objective, on its own. It's not b'shleimus without the opposite midah. Not as we described earlier. That sometimes you have to use gevura to get your chesed, sometimes you have to use chesed to get gevura's way. But when chesed is on its own, gevura is on its own, it's fine, thank you very much. He's saying, no, here is a hergish in the nefesh, that each midah is not b'shleimus without the other. Now that's a very different kind of bittul than the one we described at length till now. This is a bittul that penetrates the very core of the midah. It's not b'shleimus without the other midah. Unlike the previous scenario, it's not a bittul de mahus. On the contrary, it's chesed wants to get its way, and seichel is clever enough to show the midah. Listen, love. You want love to be effective. Sometimes you have to have discipline. We're not speaking that here. We're speaking about a bittul in the etzem midah, not about a goal. Shekol midah ein l'shleimus ba'atzmo, that no midah is b'shleimus on its own. The hainu she'ein l'muhus. If there's no gvura chesed, it's not chesed. Without you, my whole entity is valueless and is gone. The lo yasvira havches, without the contrary svira, v'dafka kun b'yachad and dafka with you I'm medav shalom. What's the hasbara? So first he gives another illustration. The kind of hasbara, being in rosh v'regel, the head and the foot. From the Kotetayt, atem tzavim hayom sharaglayim hemamidim al guf harosh, that the the feet make the body and the head stand. Now sometimes Chassidus brings something else, that the head wants to go somewhere, you can't go there without the feet. That would be the previous thing. It's a goal. The head, so you can't get there, you need the feet. You're not talking about use the head using the foot. The whole shtel of a person, human being, is a head and a torso. The whole shtel, the whole position of the head as the head of the body is because of the foot. If there's no foot, the head's not a head. It's a very different thing. Moreover, we find therefore that when there's a headache, person has a headache, we don't do this anymore, but they used to, they used to let blood. This caused, right, a new blood to the white blood cells, whatever it is, to regenerate. And that was a common way of healing, was bloodletting. So where did they do it? It was at the lower organs, it was the legs. So now the head is, being a head, he had a headache, he's not functioning. He's not a head only after the foot's been treated. Mind you, today you have acupuncture, which is similar. That's, you have a problem in one part of the body, and he's manipulating the other parts of the body for the integral well-being of another part. There's no shleimus to the head without the foot. When is there shleimus when the head is healthy? Sorry, there's no shleimus even when the head is healthy. You need the foot, as you said before, the legs, that the head should be in its position. When the head is ill and ailing, you need the foot as well. Both in health and in illness, you need the regel. This is simple. We find Bakama Makaimis. Pardon? Where are you? So much so that we find, Bakama Makaimis, the integration is so profound that you can't even say this is higher, this is lower. In the Moishe we gave till now, the head is higher, unquestionably, the foot is lower, but we're saying the head, both to be healthy and when in illness needs, is incomplete fundamentally without the foot, but it's still a head. Now we're saying even a higher dargah, that there's not even a hierarchy. Each midah is integral to the other. The fact that the probing even that much deeper, that the feet complete the head, on a deeper level, they're inseparable. The head is the foot, and the foot is the head. It's like at a very core, essential level. So now this kind of integration is because the emotions are in touch with their very source within the nefesh. And there everything is one. Here comes the Nakud of the Hasbara. What are the koiches? It's the perfection of the nefesh, that the nefesh can manifest itself with seichel and with regesh, etc. So right here's the Nakuda. The Nakuda is what's each midah looks at itself, if you can make them converse and says, what am I? Nothing. That's the shleimus of the nefesh. You're shleimus of the nefesh. So you're not more nefesh than I am, and I am not more nefesh than you are. And if the nefesh wishes to manifest itself in these 10 ways, because that's the way it is, then the nefesh's desire is unfulfilled if you're not, or if I'm not equally. We're integral to the nefesh. So then it is a whole different bittul.
It's not a bittul to the other minute, it's a bittul to the greater nefesh.
It's a bittul, it's as a result, and therefore the other midah is seen as equally expressive of the nefesh as I am. Not more, not less. And moreover, if that midah is not being expressed, then the nefesh's desire to express itself is unfulfilled, and I'm unfulfilled. Then I'm nothing. If the nefesh doesn't have what it wants, then I'm nothing, because I'm nothing other than the expression of the nefesh. So here we're starting to get the nakuda that the toikef of the midah, not I'm using the other one for my objective. There's separate world never gained from you. Examples that this is the example that you were saying, the stories that you said and what the Rebbe said at the next Fabrengen. The other shlichus in a different town has nothing to do with you. You're not gaining anything. But the nekuda is, if you have Mr. Shliach, with the Rebbe shluchim, there wants hatzlacha here and hatzlacha there. So why is my hatzlacha more important than his hatzlacha? Absolutely not. This is a medical level. It's a story which you're going to tweak. But still, that's the nakuda, is that the shliach has. And that's not a struggle. Just one thing that we use each other, okay? That's, at least there's peace. There's room for everybody, and we gain, and there's cheshbonis and agendas. It's not what he's speaking about. You have nothing to do with the other guy. And you're going to give him something, you'll never get anything back in return. So the Rebbe in the end said, you will. It will help you. Why will it help you? Because if the mishalech, the nefesh, is fulfilled, and the nefesh is expressing itself in everything. There's the nachis, in other words, Pasha. That's the reward. Pardon? Please. Meanings? Elaborate.
Doing things one for other, as opposed to just.
Well, yeah, right. Meaning, in other words, yeah. Yes, thank you. We can maybe translate that as well. In the community, there are heads and there are feet. There are the big givers, the big doers, and then there's the people that are less significant in terms of their contribution. So Moishe, the Godler, says, everybody has his place, etc. But there's a hierarchy. But the deeper shlichus is that everybody gets exactly the same attention, as it were, and involvement and interest, and everybody is equally in the geya to a shlichus. Everybody, the simplest, the child, the shadin, the billionaire, the volunteer. Not an easy avodah because there are practicalities. You got to devote more attention on the clock sometimes to whatever's demanded at the time. But on the other hand, in terms of the etzem devotion of the shliach, yeah, it's got to beat everybody equally, even to those where there's no gain. That's an easier avodah to his community at the end of the day. He's kind of responsible. But the guy in the next town, nothing to do with him.
Just because in your head you feel that there's more. Just because in your head you could feel that there's more competition, but it's all technically.
Well, there is a competition, and there is. It could be there is. He may not be such a tzaddik, such a bittul dicker guy, and he may be eroding in your territory, taking money and people. It's happened before. But for the chassid himself, what he has to aspire to is this. And like the Rebbe said, pointedly, that's the word. Yatavshin Yudalid, whatever is coming to you, even your Nefesh Habamis doesn't. As I was saying, even Nefesh Habamis shouldn't be concerned. Whatever success is coming to you, no one in the world can take away. So, that's, just know that even. But here he's speaking a higher level of emes. So he does take away. So what? So why is my shlichus more important? It's here, it's there. The Ratzon HaMishaleach. The nefesh, it's the neshama klalis, if you like, that's manifesting all of these koiches. It's all about the neshama klalis as Ratzon. That's what it's about. It starts with, as Rabbi would always say, at least we got to know it here. It's called the Chassidish Hashkafa. And the struggle the whole life to get there. But at least you'll beat yourself up when you don't. At least you know
Talking theory.
Huh?
Right now we're talking theory.
Yeah. Now it's in theory. But we got to know that this is a theory. You're reminding me of you probably heard this, but it's worth repeating. So, the Frierdiker Rebbe encouraged all of the elder Chassidim to write their zichronis, things that they witnessed to and heard. And the Rebbe pushed it very much also in the early years. So, this is a story, it's very famous because the Rebbe quoted it. Rav Perlov, Shana Markowitz is a great, great granddaughter of him. Yeah, her Zayda was his son, David. He was the Rav in Melbourne. I remember him, of course, very well. He passed away in Yom Kippur. I already left Australia when he passed away. Very interesting person. A big Talmud Chacham Mishnayos Baal Peh, word for word. Word for word. The whole Shas, all Mishnayos. He was a Baki, big expert in Gittin. He wrote a sefer on Gittin. He never saw the Rebbe. Just never happened. He was in Lubavitch and then in Europe and then Australia. He wanted to come, but the Rebbe never gave him permission. He was already much older. He was 90 odd when he died. And when the hookups came out, the first time we started hearing the Rebbe's voice in the mid 70s or early 70s. So there were two big speakers in the shul, and he would come in his Shabbos clothes, the gartel and a chair, and sit by the speaker because he was hard of hearing, and sit by the speaker with tremendous bittul, not having even ever saw the Rebbe. Anyway, so he, at the Rebbe's urging, and the Chassidim urged him in Australia to write his zichronis, which he did. It's a wonderful book, the Kotis Sipur, one of my favorite collection of Chassidish stories. So one of them is this, and when he came out with it, the Rebbe had a big schus. The Rebbe shared his story, a story. It's a word by the Fabrengen, and that is, you've heard it. You've heard it. Just repeat it quickly. That Groinim, the Mashpi and Lubavitch, used to tell the Bochrim the following: a moshel. He used to say this: Chassidus is not letters from what's happening in heaven. The Maimer, it's a communique what's happening in the Nefesh and heaven. And he gives a moshel. He gives a moshel of the Yeshuvnik, the illiterate Yeshuvnik, that, as was common, couldn't read Hebrew, couldn't read any language, and he could afford to a Malamed. So Malamedim would stay by the house, between after Tishrei till Pesach, and then from Pesach till Tishrei, go home for Yontif, and teach in the hamlet his children or the other kids. So once a letter came from the big city to the Yeshuvnik, the father of the children who is paying for the teacher, he can't read it, so he gives it to the teacher. The teacher, the Malamed, opens the letter. It's a letter from a neighbor of this guy's father in the big town. It's very sad to inform him that his father passed away. So the Malamed reads the letter, and Yeshuvnik faints. So Geronim said, he's telling the Moshel, he says, it's strange. Who understands information better? The one who read the letter. So why is it that he didn't faint, but Yeshuvnik fainted? The answer is, it's not his father. He got the letter, it's information, but it's his father. So Geronim would say, and they were quoted this, that when learning Chassidus is my Eibishter, this is my Rebbe, that is talking to me. And that's the Avodah. That's the Avodah, that the information stored here should cross the neck, das. That's what das means. Das means the personal orientation. So das means to connect to it on a personal level. That's part of what the davening is. Before Chassidus we learn the Inyanim. And davening, particularly Shabbos, when you have more time, that's when we should devote, if we can, some time to the Yisboninus in the Inyanim. So continuing. Now everything's popping up on my, I don't know what's going on. I hope it's still good. You guys still see and hear me? Huh? They're telling me I'm signed. They're telling me I'm signed out.
You can hear you, Rabbi.
Okay. They say I'm signed out. That's a pretty tough message. You just gave such a speech and then heaven said, you're out. Okay. And then it told me I should sign in, so there's hope. Ja, weiter. So 3 lines from the top of the page 225. That each koyach feels that all it is the perfection of the nefesh. Because of the shleimus of the nefesh, its perfection, it can manifest itself in all of these 10 different ways. And it's dafka in the difference that brings out the shleimus. Chesed, expression, gvura, holding back, which of course is a reflection of bli gvul and gvul. The nefesh is a reflection of the shleimus of the Ein Sof. So this sense, person has this bittul, is in touch with the truth of his nefesh. So this sense is drawn into the manifested koiches. Even as they are manifested and firing away, each one in their own world. The world of intellect is its world, calm and collected. The world of the emotions is seething and emotional. Chesed is one world, Gvura is another world. But by him, Nirgash B'chol Koyach, he feels consciously in all of the faculties of his being, he does not in his own, this is all nefesh. And so my shleimus is the expression of the nefesh, which is equally expressed in the other 9 koiches. Now getting down to the midas, the pratis b'negel midas, shekol midah nirgesh, each midah feels shleimus hidafka deishar sheisha midas. Each midah feels that each shleimus, the nefesh wants midas, so it's got to be you too. Hey, where are you? Where's gevura? If you're not here, then the shleimus of the nefesh is being compromised. So I'm no shleimus then anymore. I'm no metzias. So the nefesh is again, the nefesh is so where does this come from? Because we're made in the image of Hashem. Is because the root of it is the very essence of Atmos Ein Sof, which there is B'chinas Bli Muhus Hamiti. Atmos Ein Sof is the true non-existence in the sense of existence. As we said earlier, Shenimtza B'chinas Bilti Mitzistim. This is the language that's used from the Rasag and others, and the Rambam, right? He exists, but not in the way that existence exists. It's a different kind of existence. Everything else is, and that excludes something else. And he isn't that kind of being. So it's from there, from this level of absolute non-definition. So it's from there that's nimshach ba'amideh shegam b'pchinas mohus dova. This paradox that on the surface it's a paradox that even as they are in mohus dova, b'chinas teikef ha'oir, and they're intensely manifesting and expressive. Chesed is chesed and gvura is gvura. Still, because they're drawn on the etzem nefesh that is not bound by any of this, but simply chooses to manifest that way. Therefore, they hein b'chinas bitl b'etzem mohusa. Which means poshet. Chesed looks at himself and says, Chesed is a maila. We're going deeper now. Chesed is a maila. Chesed is no maila. Because the nefesh has decided to manifest itself through chesed, it's a maila. So what makes it a maila? The choice of the nefesh to express itself that way. And that's rooted in atzmus and mahus. that all the Sfiras, the Maila, Chacham is a Maila, Bin is a Maila, Chesed is a Maila. Lagab Atzmos, they're not. Nothing is a Maila. And why are they a Maila? Because he chose to express himself that way. So they're everything. So their Mahus, their Metzias, is bottled b'Metzias. Because their whole Metzias is only the Shleimus of Atzmos Ein Sof, who decided to manifest 10 Sfiras. That's their truth. V'al derech teres Rav HaMagid, similar to the teaching of the Magid. That's the true Layodam. The lower level of Layodam is the maturity, the Seichel influencing the Midas, as we described earlier. Agenda, and then getting your agenda by compromise, integration, etc. This is the true Layodam. That's the two levels of Merkava. The lower level of Merkava, that's the natural Merkava. The Shmeich Shal Talev, that's what the Malachim achieve every day. They lift, they bear the Adam to Loy Adam. But the true Merkava is the Avos, that's Dafka Yid Lamata. What we're doing really is accessing this is what it means, the Midas of Tohu. And in Tohu, where just everything shattered, because all what was manifest there was the intensity of the Midah, and connecting it to the Etzem where your intensity remains, but it's completely bottled. That's only Shaykh Lamata. That only a Yid can do. Mushish and Atzmos. Because that's where it starts. That's the origin of it. That's the truth of it all. It's all the shleimus of Atzmos. And only Yid, no Malach is rooted there. So Malach in the world of Toyo is unfixable. Forget Toyo, now we're Tikkun. Toyo was a disaster. It caused the shattering, and it gave rise to the chaos of Elam Hazeh. Malachim look down here and say this is a terrible matzav, and why would you even want to go there? So they're forever baffled by the whole choice of a Yid. But slowly but surely, they're getting the message. They realize that's what the Eibishter wants. But the true Merkava is the Avos, is the Yidden. And with all this thing we'll explain, Tefillah B'tzibur. That's where he's going. Okay, so just finish the sentence. We want to finish, by 7 o'clock. So al derech, well, we know. Al derech, that's by number 87 in the text, Now, I don't have an answer for this because the Moshe is giving now is a moshel of Malachim. We're saying it's high and so he says al derech. It's not the same thing. It's al derech. Teres Rav HaMagid being an oisa shalom b'mreim, if he makes peace on high. Maybe the answer is that he makes the peace. It's not their avodah. At any rate, Michal Sar Shal Shelek, Michal, the angel Michal, is the prince of the minister of snow. The Gavriel Sar Shalesh, and Gavriel is the minister, the divine minister of fire. Vein Mechabin Zeh Mezeh, and they don't extinguish each other. Oisa shalom b'mreim. The Haino should be Yoisa b'mreim, as they are on the loftiest level, and it could be again. This is the Oisa Eibishter's doing. This is not the avodah Malachim. So that's our answer. And he does so because we do so. At any rate, Yeshlema perhaps. Just let's get the point. As they are above. They're there in their full intensity. Michal and Gavriel. As underscored by the fact that they're called Sar, which means a prince or a minister. Even there, Nasa Shalom B'neihem. Why? Yes, definitely through Avodah V'Yid. Because drawn in them is the Pnimiyas Haratzon, which draws on Atzmos, not only a Yid elicits. Which transcends the external will. The external will is also part of the Lo Yodam. But there can be change, different agendas and different objectives. And we'll learn, as he goes further, that has to do with Yishtalshalus. I'm going to stop here. I'll revisit this tomorrow and do it in greater detail. And that's mitzvah Yishtalshalus, a perfect world. But the objective is not a perfect world, a nice world, an integrated world, a harmonious world. It's not the kavanah. The kavanah is a truly godly world. drawing on atzmos and mahus. And there the chiddush is, even b'chol ha'tokef of every aspect of creation, not softened by some higher agenda. But his whole mitzvah, he recognizes that he's nothing other than the shleimus and the choice of atzmos, no less than you, no less than the other. And I am nothing without you, and you without me, because we're all nothing other than the choice of atzmos. That's the avodah, to bring that hergish into the world. That's the avodah v'yid. Okay, we'll revisit that with Hashem tomorrow in greater detail.
Would it be fair to say that the difference is the focus on a higher agenda is being mevatel by a higher reality? It seems like it's somewhat of an agenda stuff.
You could say that. Well, the agenda, but not mine. Atmos' agenda. Hashem's desire to express as a spheres. Whereas the lower bittul is already a personal agenda. Love my kids and I need to discipline. I've got an enemy I want to destroy. I've got to do it through kill him with kindness. So that's yeah.